Welcome to the Duke University campus, the site of this first round NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championship battle featuring the Utah Utes, the two-time defending ASUN champs, and the 2 seed, one of the nation's best. That's the Duke Blue Devils today at Koskinen Stadium. Welcome to Durham, North Carolina, where this tournament continues. You just saw earlier Virginia scored 17 goals. It advances and knocks out St. Joe's. And so we'll find out who will advance next to the quarterfinals. Duke and Utah, our next matchup. Delighted to have you with us today in Durham with the former John Hopkins midfielder, Mark Dixon, Kevin Fitzgerald with you. So this Duke team, they've been one of the best in the nation all year long. The prolific offense, just like a year ago when they made it the run to the championship game, is powered by the headliner, Brennan O'Neill, the All-American.
Maybe the most unique force college lacrosse has seen in a really long time. Number 34, Brennan O'Neill, the #1 overall pick in this past week's PLL draft. He's got size, speed, agility, and flat-out talent. The reigning Tewaaraton Award winner, just named a Tewaaraton finalist. He'll have to be on point today to continue his career, because his next game at this point, Kevin, could be his last.
49 goals this year for the seniors. Who's got to step up along with him today?
I like Andrew McAdory. He was moved to attack last week in the ACC tournament, and he paid dividends immediately. I think him on the right side, O'Neill on the left, really balances out this Duke attack unit, this Duke offensive force, and McAdory is a big one. He's all ACC for 2024. Ryan Steins, meanwhile, the 2024 Atlantic Sun Player of the Year, a homecoming for number 6 in the black and red, a native of Cary, North Carolina. That'll be the site of the NCAA Women's Championships this year. But Steins is looking to punch the ticket for Utah to advance to Long Island next week.
Their second straight trip to this NCAA tournament in just their 6th year as a Division I lacrosse program. Between the pipes is Colin Lenskold. He has started all 32 of Utah's games the last 2 seasons.
Baptism by fire last year as a freshman. Coach Andrew McMinn says he has played out of his mind in 24.
Meanwhile, on the other side, it's the rookie, Patrick Jamison. He's been one of the best rookies in the nation all year.
The plan was to redshirt the freshman, but he played so well in the fall and then won the job in the spring scrimmages. Jamison is wise and plays beyond his years.
Those numbers, the goals against average, the same percentage, top 20 in the nation, second only to Liam Entenman in the ACC. And away we go, Dixie. Duke with one last game here at Koskinen Stadium, looking to make a similar run to championship weekend like it did, reaching the championship game a year ago. And it's a ground ball win for Utah to start things off.
Yeah, Nico DePonio with the pickup. Big development if you're a Duke fan. Number 56 in white, Jake Naso, took that opening draw for the Blue Devils. He missed last weekend's ACC tournament with a lower body injury, so good to see him back in action. But this is big for Utah to get the first offensive touch of this contest.
You're right on. Naso, the All-American, he's going to largely go up against the sophomore Tyler Clokel today. And so Utah starts on this end of the field to get things started. Steins, as you mentioned, he's number 6 in the black today. This is Tyler Bradbury at X. Moyer cut off. That one's wide, stays here with the Utes.
And you saw Utah got the Duke defense spinning.
Bounce shot.
I think it's key for the Utes to test the individual matchups, but keep the ball hot, because physically, you can see the size of the Duke poles. I mean, those are just some big bodies inside.
Nice cut to the cage that time, and the shot hits off the pipe. That was a great look. It looked like from MJ McMahon, a 5th-year senior. And we're going back the other way.
And that is what Utah is going to have to do. Find those soft spots. Duke is going to be eager to slide. We saw that in the first Utah possession. Take advantage, see where that slide came from, try to get the rock there. The pipes keep the Utes at bay. Duke now with their first offensive thrust.
It was a brilliant look for this Utah team on the first possession. And yeah, Dixie, this Blue Devils team, one of the nation's hottest offenses. McAdory finds Zawada. What a save from Lenskol to get things started.
I love how he tracked it, got down low, and saved it clean. McAdory running back at midfield. He finds Zawada. That was as easy as it gets. And Lenskol makes the big stop. Both teams getting quality looks in their first offensive shots.
There's a score for Tyler Bradbury. Found some open real estate, goal line extended, and Utah gets on the board first.
This looked like a mistake in the sub game for the Duke Blue Devils. As the ball gets behind to Bradbury, McAdory's in no man's land. He passed his matchup off to Carpenter, number 33 in white, and McAdory didn't cover anybody. And that leaves Bradbury all by himself, recognizes the situation, gets above goal line extended, and beats Jamison high to high. Great start for Utah.
Boy, these are two very good looks for the Utes. Obviously, that one with a little confusion on the defensive end. And so it's 31 goals now on the season for this fifth-year senior. This Utah team has won another face-off. It's a very veteran group in really every position group. A lot of seniors and graduate seniors.
This is a group that has been here before.
Yeah.
Qualifying for the NCAA tournament last year for the first time. They went out to Notre Dame and got handled. What does Coach Andrew McMinn do? Right after Notre Dame wins the national championship, he calls Kevin Corrigan and says, can we come out and scrimmage you in the preseason in February this year? They played indoors, but literally returning to the scene of the crime where it happened, he said that set the tone for this Utah 24 version.
No back down from this group. Jordan Hyde's shot is wide. And they gallop into this tournament, Dixie. They've won 9 in a row. They have thrashed teams, winning by an average margin of 10 goals. There's a wide shot that time from Stein, so his first look is off the mark.
And they've come out today flying. And don't adjust your set, because this is the way Utah plays.
Right.
Two-way midfielders, fast breakneck pace, end-to-end lacrosse. They are in great shape. And again, they have that year of NCAA tournament experience under their belt.
Bradbury with the first goal of this first round battle. Bradbury's got it here, slips by, bouncer is wide.
And Duke taking some risks. The over-the-head check from Jack Gray. Gray, like Naso, missed last weekend's ACC tournament. Number 20 in white, he is back in. Utah got 2 or 3 quality shots off in that sequence. Duke holds them at bay and earns the shot clock violation.
So now Duke starts the clear, excellent clearing team. This Duke team, battle-tested as it always is. Went through the gauntlet of the SEC, reached the title game. They toppled Syracuse last weekend in Charlotte one-handedly, but then got bounced by Notre Dame, final 16-6, so some highs, some lows last weekend in Charlotte. There's a rip and a score. Dyson Williams, he's one of the deadliest attackmen in the nation, ties this thing up.
The Duke Blue Devil faithful love it. The Blue Devils may not have won the ACC championship last weekend, but they did get a measure of revenge knocking off a Syracuse team that they had lost to back in March. Johnston, eyes up, talented freshman. Dyson Williams just leaks out the backside. You have always got to account for number 51 in white off ball. Utah does not. He takes the feed, he tattoos the upper 90, and we're tied at 1.
It's a second straight 50-goal season for Dyson Williams. And he and O'Neal, 2 of the most prolific scorers in Duke history. That's scooped up by the Blue Devils.
I'm not surprised, and I am surprised. Naso's back at the face-off. He looks a little rusty. He's coming off injury. And they won that face-off, but you didn't really win it when your short stick gets de-twigged in the middle of Campus Drive.
Yeah.
And so that's really, in essence, 3 face-off wins for the Utes. They are dominating right now at the dot, and I didn't really expect that coming in, because this is a Utah team that doesn't face off particularly well. They're right around that 50% neighborhood.
Yeah, only about 46% on the year as a team. They've got a couple of young face-off men this year.
I rounded up, so you got it right, my man. 46%. I rounded up.
Well, no calculator needed in this first quarter because they have had the advantage. The turnover, though, is going to give it back to Duke. There's the Hall of Famer. 18 years now for John Danowski. He's won 3 titles. He's been to championship weekend countless other times. They're trying to get back there, a place that produced a little pain last year in the championship loss to Notre Dame.
That's the good news and bad news scenario. The good news, you get to a national title. The bad news, you lose as Duke goes off sides. But what do they say, Kevin? Rather to have loved and lost than never loved at all. So they've made it. You know, they're where they want to be. I mean, that was just a situation last year where Notre Dame was not to be denied.
That's a long-range look from DeMarzo, blocked out in front of the cage. Duke takes over.
Utah is not bashful. They are playing with a ton of energy, a ton of excitement, no back down. They are firing at will so far here in this first quarter. Eight shots already for the Utes. Only 2 for Duke.
Max Sloat has it now. Pass was tipped, so Duke takes it.
Officials doing a nice job so far. We've had a couple of tip passes. Doug Donovan, Tom Holen, Charlie Obermeyer, our crew this afternoon.
Denenza couldn't quite get free, and back to O'Neal, so he starts to go to work. Zawada, he's got 2 in the first quarter.
That's the thing about big number 34 in the white and blue. You got to respect him as a Dodger, but he can also feed. DePonio denies the pick. Zawada catches Utah ball watching. That fake little pick right there gets 1, 2, 3 red helmets staring down 34. Zawada sees the back of the cascade marker, cuts underneath, catches, shoots. Blue Devils with their first lead.
Yeah, first for Zawada, let me say, was Williams with the other. And this dynamic, versatile fifth-year senior. He spent the last few years at Michigan, left as the program's all-time leading scorer. Clokel gets hammered, and now a flag comes in.
This Utah team is scrappy, and Duke was not.
4-4, 4-4 white, cross check, 1 minute, 80.
Duke was not going to let Kloecki out of the neighborhood without a fight. Everything's clean up until that point. That's just a little bit of misfortune for the Duke Blue Devils. Jake Wilson, the guilty party. He was coming in to make a clean check and gets the Utah player in the head. Lucky that's not a head and neck call right there. That could have been full-time serving, but the officials determined it was indirect, unintentional, and it's a releasable foul.
So the Utes now trying to work it around the box on the man up, where they've scored 17 man up goals this year. Add another. Andriella ties things up at 2.
We talked about Ryan Steins being a North Carolina native. This is Andriella, who grew up just down the street in Raleigh. Good ball rotation, good step down. Andriella just with the worm burner. Low to low, gets past Jamison, and we have got a game. Blew the doors off, and when you look at their early season slate, scrimmaging Notre Dame, playing Denver, playing Ohio State, Marquette, that prepared them for their in-conference season, and it's prepared them for the second season, which is the postseason. And you can see this Utah team is playing with confidence. They're playing loose, and they're having fun out there.
And they're the healthiest they've been all year. They faced a couple of those difficult teams, like you mentioned, Denver, Syracuse, with several key midfielders out, like Jared Andriella. So they are deeper than ever as well. McAdory, he is so explosive. The athleticism, or number 2 in the white, always on display.
No matter if he's up top, coming out of the box, or down behind, he is the party starter more times than not for Duke.
O'Neal finds Charles Balsamo, the second-line midfielder, is on. And so over to Jack Papendick. Williams and Zawada have the 2 Duke goals, bookended by a couple of Ute scores. Late shot clock offense now. This is O'Neal. Bounces it through. And so the reigning Tewaaraton Award winner has got his first in his first-round battle.
Utah was playing really good defense. The shorties holding their own, but this is O'Neal, and he's a different animal. He just gets the inside position. Watch, he's a lefty, and just tucks it in his right hand, lowers that left shoulder, gets leverage, squirts out underneath, and it's lights out after that. You have got to get a body on number 34, Brendan O'Neal. As tough as that might sound, you have got to get a body and slow down that train on the tracks.
6'2", the Long Island native. He's been a supernova in college lacrosse the last couple of years. It's a great point. Just what else is critical against the reigning Tewaaraton Award winner if you're Utah today?
If you can get a body on him, you can't ball watch. You can't watch and have your jaw drop and be like, oh my God, you know, my guy's taking care of 34, because if you take your eye off your man, Zawada's going to do what he did on that first assist from Brendan O'Neal.
Ben Johnson with the alley attack.
And O'Neal takes criticism, whether it's fair or not, that he sometimes gets frustrated with games and disappears. If Utah can take him out of his rhythm and, if that's true, quote unquote, make him disinterested, that could be a bright spot, but that's not going to be on the highlight reel.
How about Johnson, by the way, burns the upper right corner. I mean, that is a snipe. And it's 4-2. Well, they did a good job of shutting down O'Neal a few moments later, but Johnson beats him.
Well, again, look at the crowd that he draws. 2 black jerseys. And he got the Utah defense on skates, meaning they couldn't recover after their slides. And Johnston, a top-rated freshman according to Inside Lacrosse, native of Illinois. Beautiful catch and shoot. I love how Duke is sharing the ball right now. They're recognizing the doubles. They're recognizing the confusion of Utah's defense, and they're getting it to that open space.
So a much better start today than the ACC championship game lost to Notre Dame. Remember, Johnson had a couple of goals in that one, so he picks up right where he left off. And it's a pair of scores for the Blue Devils in the last minute. This is Andriella, very versatile, productive midfielder. He's their top scoring midi. Bradbury, number 23 in the black. He's got one of the 2 Utah goals. The very well-traveled Utah Utes. They, of course, finished atop the geographically diverse ASUN.
Great conference, won the championship against Jacksonville. Air Force was the host. Utah won the championship.
Here's the player of the year in the conference. Steins caught a piece of the pipe. That's a couple of pipes here that Utah has hit in this first quarter.
Utah doesn't know any other way to play than fast and in your face. And talking with John Danowski this week, he's like, okay, they came off a conference championship. They've got to travel out here. So they, Sunday championship game, probably had Monday off. Tuesday, they get back to work. Thursday, they're traveling. They're not changing for us. They're not putting any new wrinkles in or any new philosophy in. So we're expecting to get a tenacious, fast-paced Utah team, and that's what they're getting.
O'Neal, the step down. He faked a shot and then took it right to the cage for his second strike.
Did I say take body? You can try, but here's what he does when he feels pressure. Boylston comes out with not the best approach. Looked like he was trying to get into the body of 34 and face dodge you later. The windshield wiper comes across, big face dodge, gets a stick back to shooting position and finishes clean.
You see now more than 200 goals in his career. He's trying to chase down Justin Gutterding, the program's all-time scoring leader. He'll need a pretty prolific postseason run here, but he's certainly within striking range. There's a call against Utah, so the Blue Devils are back into their offensive third.
O'Neal has been in the spotlight ever since he was in grade school.
Oh, back in the spotlight, Jake Naso, welcome back. The face-off man. Mark with his 5th goal of the season. Welcome back to action.
Sneaky job by Naso. He stays on the field, and no one accounts for number 56 in white. And when he gets the pill in his stick, he can do just that. He can turn, he can finish. So O'Neal again recognizing great vision from number 34 in white. He finds Naso, and he's starting to get a groove at the face-off dot as well.
Yeah.
So that's only going to put more wind in his sails as this game progresses.
Yeah, he's close to 58% at X this year. Remember, the All-American from a year ago, and he was inactive this past weekend in Charlotte, missed both of those ACC tournament games. So you'll also see number 41 in the white. That's Cal Gerard, the freshman. Lost that face-off to the Utes. Yeah, it's a 6-1 scoring run right now, Dixie, after Utah took a 2-1 lead.
And this is danger zone time for Utah. They came out swinging, landed a couple punches. Duke has now counterpunched. I'm not saying that the Utes are in a standing 8 count just yet, but they can't let this game get too far away from them, especially with Naso now starting to feel it.
Fell behind early in their first round battle against Notre Dame last year, ultimately fell 20-7. This is Cody Hart, second line midfielder. McMahon couldn't get topside. How about this All-American duo of Kenny Brower and Tyler Carpenter, by the way, on the Duke defense. Two of the finest in the nation. So it's the short stick, McGuire on Steins, and Jamison tracked that one the whole way.
And here comes transition opportunity. McGuire.
Here he is. Feeds the left side, Sawada buries it, and then the flag came out afterward. It's now 7-2. There was contact on the pass. Duke right now. All things are clicking. Boy, McGuire took a shot here.
McGuire shaken up on the play. I believe it's, the only question, is it going to be a dead ball or a live ball foul? I think it's going to be unnecessary roughness.
A technical foul, interference on Black. That's going to be wiped out. Goal's good.
But Kevin, it starts with defense. I don't mind the shot by Steins because it was off shoulder. Watch McGuire just run through the checks, dishes it, and they're lucky that that's an interference call because that is a late hit. If you saw the replay, that was a late hit. That should have been a time-serving foul on Utah. They dodged that bullet. It's called. It's downgraded to an interference, and the Utes are in desperate need of making a play.
Yeah, and another ground ball win there for Duke. They have landed an early blow here against Utah. Now the 7-1 scoring run. And the Blue Devils, with their prolific offense, they average about 15 goals a game.
They've got to give Lenskold shots he can save. What I mean by that is he's got to be able to see it, track it, and right now Duke is being relentless on the offensive end of the field.
Yeah, using their physicality to their advantage right here. McAdory now finds Williams. Boylston jarred it away. It's a good physical sequence right there by Joey Boylston, the senior from Charleston. And something positive here for the Utes.
Big time. It might not be O'Neal, but it's his partner in crime, Dyson Williams, and that was just a terrific approach from Boylston. Take a look at the check, left side of your screen. Great footwork, good stance, and came out clean. A lot of times guys will raise that check and slash, but he ran right through the gloves of Dyson Williams and created the turnover.
Andriella is, you know, this is now the third time Utah has hit a pipe or the post.
That's really their first clean look, right? In about 5 minutes or so.
Yep.
On Jamison. Now they've won the substitution game, 6-on-5 momentarily.
This is Moyer. Andriella trying to track it down. Jamison leaving the cage for a moment. Steins has it. McMahon can't get past the physical Jack Gray.
What is John Danowski on our conference call this week? His Zoom name is Reggie Dunlap, the coach from the movie Slapshot, played by Paul Newman. He said, who are the Hanson brothers? He said it's Bard, Brower, and who was the third? McGuire, Aiden McGuire.
That's right.
You don't want to wake up the Hanson brothers if you're Utah. McGuire got dumped on that last one, and after the pipe shot, Utah's not able to generate another look, and shot clock violation gives the ball back to the Blue Devils.
Duke is incredibly efficient. They've taken 8 shots. They've got 7 goals. Williams was a good stick check that time. 4 seconds to go in this first quarter. One last look. Half a second to go. And that'll likely just put the end here to a pretty emphatic first quarter for these Duke Blue Devils. Utah took a 2-1 lead, then John Danowski's team went on a 6-1 run. O'Neal's got a pair of goals, but everybody getting involved for the Blue Devils.
Junior, Brendan Mundorf. The one thing missing on that resume, Kevin, national championship.
Sure.
And that is the focus of Brennan O'Neal and his Duke teammates over these next couple of weeks. Really, you know, just this afternoon, right now, got to beat Utah to advance to the quarterfinals. But that is the one piece missing off of the resume of Brennan O'Neal at this point.
This program has gotten there to the title game several times since their last championship a decade ago. Remember, they went back-to-back in 2013 and 2014. They are off to a far better start 1 quarter in than a year ago. Remember, Delaware gave them trouble in the first round. 1 year ago, went on to beat Penn State, Michigan rather, then Penn State in overtime in the national semifinal before falling to Notre Dame in that national championship game. And boy, if they make it back to championship weekend, I think it's might be pretty obvious. It seemed like Notre Dame is going to be there again. Good fake. That's a great pass from Zawada to Williams. And so Dyson Williams now joins his fellow attackmen, Zawada and O'Neal. That trio, they all have 2 goals, and it's an 8-2 lead.
The McAdory move to attack last week in the ACC tournament was more matchup based, and I think that the Duke staff feels comfortable with this attack line of O'Neal, Williams, and Zawada. This is what you call trust. Williams just slides off of a look from Dyson Williams. He looks his way. Zawada looks his way, and Williams has his back to him and just opens up right in front of the cage, and that's a spot feed from Zawada right onto the stick, right on the money of Dyson Williams. That is trust and familiarity amongst teammates.
He's 6th in the nation in shot percentage, Williams is. So a high percentage look like that, that's going to raise it a bit.
Kevin, I think you'd have a pretty healthy shot percentage if you were shooting from, 5 yards and in, but that's...
I might have gone 1 for 1 from that territory as well.
That's what he's paid to do. That is what Dyson Williams.
Close range, knocked down. And he was in the crease that time. So Utah needs something positive here. Had the 2-1 lead a few minutes in. They've taken a couple more shots than Duke, but they're looking for high percentage looks. Team that's won 9 in a row and have once again not just finished on top of the ASUN, winning a regular season title, but they've won now back-to-back years their conference tournament championship. The westernmost program in Division I lacrosse has got another goal here in the second, and that's Ryan Steins. It's his first of the day, the ASUN Player of the Year.
The Cary, North Carolina native, he's got a lot of family and friends in attendance, and they like what they see. Stein can play attack, but a little wrinkle. They're now moving him out into the midfield, running him out of the box so he can get a short stick matchup. And that time, Aiden McGuire, number 23 in white, just gives him way too much room, way too much space. You can see he was respecting the dodging ability, but didn't stop the shooter. I mean, that's like having a guy who's usually layup, driving the lane in basketball, and you kind of back off of him because, like, you're not going to blow by me, and then they just pull up and make that little short-range jumper. That's what Steins just did to Aiden McGuire and Duke.
You saying he pulled a Jalen Brunson?
Man, I tell you what, I feel for you.
15-footer was looking good yesterday until
it wasn't.
Last couple minutes. Yeah.
I was going to tell you. I mean, I didn't want to chirp you, but you brought it on yourself. Brunson and what DiVincenzo was out of his mind last night, right?
Had a fantastic game. Would have been nice if he got a shot there. DiVincenzo, that is, in the final few minutes.
But yes, that's a Jalen Brunson. You expect him to drive to the cup, and then he pulls up and burns you with that mid-range game.
Well, that's what's great about a player like Steins. Very versatile, can do both. Andrew McMinn is praised just his lacrosse IQ. Nobody plays the game with more passion than he does. Duke, meanwhile, back on the offensive end of the field. That pass was knocked down, so a good defensive sequence there for Utah. And the Utes begin the clear.
One at a time if you're Utah. The Steins goal puts a little bit of pep in your step, gives you some confidence.
2 Utes goals in the first quarter. Added one here early in the third. They're trying to go back to work offensively. This is Justice Peterson.
Seeing Utah, they run a lot of guys. You know, this is not a team that's married to just 6 or 7 guys on the offensive end. They'll run 11, 12, 13 bodies through.
It is a deep midfield group. There's a rip, and that one stings the upper left 90. Cody Hart with his 18th goal of the season. And from distance there, it's back-to-back Utah scores.
You mentioned the injuries from earlier in the season. Number 3 in black was one of them. Listen to the pipe. I love goals like this, Kevin. Oh! It is a sweet symphony when you get time, space, and your hands free, and you can ping it like that. And then you get the noise. That is a rocket to the upper 90. Stick side high, no less, on Jamison.
Oh, yeah, Jamison doing a double take there.
Yeah.
Wait a second, that one wound up behind me. 18 goals now on the year for Cody Hart. He's the junior from Lake Oswego, Oregon, has turned in a fine season. And Utah now with a face-off win, and they're going back to work. Duke has doubled them up, even despite the consecutive scores.
This game's starting to resemble a little bit our first game between St. Joe's and Virginia, where St. Joe's got on top early. Virginia battled back, built a little bit of a lead, but the Hawks would not go away. Utah, you can expect the same kind of DNA. They will not go away. And I like this little wrinkle that Utah is employing, having number 6, Steins, playing in the midfield versus attack. This is akin to McAdory playing attack last weekend for Duke.
Yeah, big win against Syracuse worked at his advantage. McAdory scored 5 goals in that game. Utah looking to go back to work. Andriella couldn't squeeze that one by. Make it Jamison, rather. That was a nice save going down to sweep it away.
Great stop by Jamison, the freshman, who won the job. They were expecting to redshirt him because you had Wilhelm coming back, a graduate student,
right,
who led you to the national championship game last year. You had other goaltenders with more experience on the roster. The freshman came in and wins the job.
Double-digit saves 11 times this year for Jamison. This one's free. O'Neal gathers it. O'Neal facing a lot of pressure there with some tenacious checks. Zawada back to McAdory. McAdory bounces it in. A great move to free the hands. And Duke responds.
McAdory, this guy's got great shake in his game. He slips out quicker than a hiccup. Number 2, the jab step. Gets top side, plants his feet, and it's curtains for Lenskold. Look at the quickness. Ooh. Just puts his feet in the dirt. Defense runs by him. And number 2 in blue gets Duke's lead back up to 5.
A junior from Long Island. The veteran has now started all 53 games that he's played in Durham.
Utah wins another faceoff.
That's 6 face-off wins for the Utes. Duke has won 9. Again, with Jake Naso primarily at X today, his return for the Blue Devils.
So Utah's midfield basically is number 6 Steins and then everybody else. He's the one constant on these 6-on-6 possessions. What do you give up with him off of attack? Well, if they get transition opportunities, he is a catalyst down low. But Utah willing to give that up to create better matchups up top and open things up for his teammates.
Trying to free up Hart, who scored a goal a few moments ago. Crossfield pass to Steins. It's loose. Brower scoops it up, the All-American. And now here comes Duke on the move. Carpenter finds Zawada. And Utah able to recover momentarily.
Well, and there you saw the physical advantage that Duke has over this Utah team. Brower, 29 in white, 6'2", 215, picking up that ground ball. Utah aggressively riding him, but just bouncing off of him. You know, like they're not even, it's almost like it's a force field around Brower,
yeah.
But it's not. I mean, the guy's made out of granite.
5th-year senior from Massapequa is giving Duke another opportunity here. Denenza shoved out. And this is the superstar, O'Neal. Passes it a little too high for Williams. Boy, Williams had slid right in front of the cage, was open.
He could have ordered a sandwich from the East Cut Deli, ate the sandwich, wiped his mouth clean, then caught the ball and had a good shot opportunity had that been on the mark. But again, O'Neal, he's not just a finisher, he is a distributor.
Boy, I should have said yes to one of those sandwiches. Now I know where you went for lunch today.
Shout out Ronnie Caputo. You want to get a good sandwich no matter where you are in this country.
That's right.
You ask someone from Long Island. and Ronnie Caputo, I could have had my pick of Matt or John Danowski or Ronnie Caputo, but you know, Caputo I trust. Chicken cutlet, gotta have it.
In front, Williams couldn't squeeze it. And then into Lenskold's cross. Got about a 50% hit rate, by the way, on this Duke roster. Long Island South, down in Durham.
And you look at this Utah roster, Florida, North Carolina, Oregon, Michigan. Very emblematic of those Western programs.
There's a bouncer, stopped by Jamison. It was Bryce Horton, their valuable short stick. Could not sneak that one by Jamison. This Utah program still so young, so new, just their 6th year after launching their Division I program summer of 2018. Remember, it was Brian Holman pushed the boat off the dock, if you will. Their first head coach. They joined the ASUN 3 years ago, and all they've done is dominate that conference. They've only lost once in regular season play the last 3 years. It's a testament to where McMinn has raised the bar to. Great passing. That shot in front was knocked away. And so Utah on the move.
Len Gold save with his feet. We're going to see a goalie like that tomorrow. Penn State, Georgetown, the Big Ten Specialist of the Year, Jack Frassion, makes more saves with his legs and lower body than anybody in the country. Len Gold does the same there. And yeah, you mentioned Utah. Brian Holman built the foundation. Holman now in charge of that Boston Cannons PLL organization. But McMinn is used to being in lacrosse outpost, if you will. He built Robert Morris into a perennial NCAA team. And now he's doing the same in Utah. First year in the Atlantic Sun, they were upset in the championship game of that conference by who? Robert Morris.
Yeah, program they had built for 10 years prior.
And now he's out west doing a good job recruiting. And what'd he say to us? You know, everybody knows Utah for the skiing, the mountains. He's like, but the scenery, and this time of year, springtime, special with the hikes and all the outdoor activities, and a heck of a school.
Timeout with 4:41 to go here in the second. McMinn's Utah team is down 5 in the first round. ESPNU for more information on this year's championship, visit ncaa.com. One team has advanced, Virginia earlier.
Virginia's already through. And look at who their opponent might be, either Lehigh or Johns Hopkins. And if it's Lehigh, you're going to see Lehigh and Hopkins tomorrow. John Crawley, offensive coordinator for the Blue Jays, was offensive coordinator under now Virginia offensive coordinator Kevin Cassis at Lehigh. So if the Mountain Hawks win, you're going to have Kevin Cassis facing his old team next week.
Oh, Utah with a strike here. After a chaotic sequence, it's Tyler Bradbury with his second goal of the game. He scored the first. It's 9-5.
Steins in the midfield has the Duke defense respecting him, and that opens things up for other Utes. And that's just a beautiful underhand pass to Bradbury. I mean, look at this thing. So slick, so smooth, on a rope. And Bradbury, what I loved about it is he caught it and he kept his feet moving. Got the top side, better angle, slips it past Jamison. Out of a timeout, media or otherwise, that is perfect if you're on the offensive end.
Naso another face-off win. It's now 10 straight multi-goal games for Bradbury. It is a very veteran and experienced offensive unit. So Steins, the player of the year in the conference, he's the baby of this group. Spent 3 years with the program. Yeah, that is no rookie on that drive to the rack. Wonderfully done by Tyler Carpenter. It's a pole goal here, and then the flag afterward.
Juice time in Durham. Carpenter right-handed. We'll see what the call will be. That's a late hit again. The referees called it interference in the first quarter. Let's see what they mete out on this particular instance.
Goal's good. Black 11. Unnecessary. Dead ball. No face-off. 1 minute. No face-off. No face-off. It's late. Yeah.
So this is unnecessary roughness, late hit. They're saying it was dead ball. And the reason it's dead ball is because, watch, The ball was in the net, and then the infraction occurred.
Right.
Andrew McMinn was a little bit miffed at the call because it's inconsistent with what happened in the first quarter. Almost identical when Aiden McGuire from Duke was hit, and it was called interference. That one not only is unnecessary, a minute, but it's dead ball, meaning no face-off. Make it, take it, Lacrosse. The pure definition with that last Duke goal.
Well, and the player that Duke has relied on in these situations, Dyson Williams, 11 man-up goals this year. It's best in the nation, 51 in the white.
And Utah is shutting off Brendan O'Neill, number 34, in white.
This one's still free. Save before it rolled out of bounds by Zawada. That was very close. Looked like that was bound to roll out. Duke looking to cash in. Doubling up Utah late in the second. McAdory low to high. And that one bounces past Lenskold. And so now it's an 11-5 lead for the Blue Devils with 3:06 to go.
This goal was brought to you by Josh Zawada, number 79 in white, with the save on the end line. Ball was going out of bounds. Utah elected to shut off Brendan O'Neill. You say no big deal, it's 5-on-4. Well, it threw Duke for a loop. Utah got the ball on the ground, but couldn't get the ground ball. And McAdory, high bouncers will go, tucks it right underneath the crossbar. Great hustle by Josh Zawada, though, to keep that possession alive and the extra man opportunity going for Duke.
Right before it had bounced across the end line. So back to the face-off X. It's been the return of Jake Naso today. It's now 10 face-off wins. Naso is 10 of 16 today. He's been one of the best in the nation. And again, he was out with that ankle injury the 2 games in Charlotte for the ACC tournament. Now, he hurt it in mid-April in that Virginia game. Tried to play on it the following week in that regular season finale against UNC, was just ineffective. So he's trying to get healthier and healthier with the tournament upon us.
And he's settling in. The first couple looked a little rusty, looked a little slow, was getting his timing back, but now it's there and he is producing. I like the depth that Duke is showing here as well. 55 in white out there with the ball in his cross.
It's Grant Mitchell. Mitchell trying to feed it to the other side. Pass was knocked down.
Yeah, end of the regular season for Duke. They went to Chapel Hill and got handled by the North Carolina Tar Heels. At one point in that game, they were down by 9 goals. And John Danowski said, you know what? Third midfield, you're going. And Mitchell produced. And that's refreshing to see in this day and age of lacrosse, where if a team is struggling, oftentimes coaches are reluctant to go to guys that might be on that third midfield, might be on the scout, but Mitchell produced, and now he's going to be a vital part running in the stretch run in the NCAAs for the Blue Devils.
Those Blue Devils, they have it back with 1:19 to go. The end of the regular season, look, Duke is as battle-tested as any program in the nation. Heck, basically every opponent they played since mid-March is a ranked team, save for that one game against UNC. And that just happens towards the tail end of every season when you play in the gauntlet that is the ACC. However, they have been a little up and down. The loss to UNC, what do they do a few days later? They score 18 goals in a thrashing of Syracuse in that first ACC semifinal.
A team that they only scored 4 against in the Dome in March. Yeah.
And then fall behind Notre Dame 8-2 at the half of the championship game 2 days later. Well, now look, it's Notre Dame, but that's the reigning national champs.
Let's look at where we are right now. The way that this thing is going is it's Notre Dame and everyone else. So for Duke to be able to plus 14 their initial effort against Syracuse, making some adjustments, making some changes, that was a real positive. And obviously, if it comes to it, they're going to have to figure out the Fighting Irish.
Zawada to Denenza with 8 seconds left in the quarter. This one's free. 5 seconds left. Denenza just flings it towards that side of the field. And this first half, Dixie, is in the books. Duke, they trailed 2-1. You know, Duke, one of the best shot percentages in the country. You can see what they did there. 11 out of 15 as a team. And with Jake Naso back, they had the clear advantage right there at the face-off X. And so if you're Utah, a face-off win here would certainly help. Clokel able to outmaneuver Naso, but only for a moment. McGuire now on the move. The pass, Williams misfires. And they'll reset the shot clock there. That one skimmed the top of the crossbar. So if you're Utah, what is critical to try to tighten this thing up?
You didn't get the possession that you wanted. You're going to have to hold them defensively now. Get a stop. That would go a long way in setting the tone, at least initially here in the second half.
Just the second ever appearance in this tournament for Utah, a program that's just 6 years old. And a steal, nicely done that time by DePonio.
That's the stop that Utah needed. You've got the ball now on offense, and you can start chipping away. If you're Utah, you're playing with house money. No one expects you to win this game. Why not just go out, ball? They got the experience from last year in the tournament. It came through early. What lessons have you learned from that setback, the route last year in South Bend, that you can incorporate here in the second half?
Andrew McMinney was very vocal about how last year they let the moment get a little too big. They're able to regather it here. Unsettled situation. That was last touched by Hyde. Stays here though. Backs it up.
Yes, it's still a shot. Impetus of the ball wasn't changed to the point where it just redirected it in a really weird fashion. But I love the ride from Steins. The turnover from Andrelia. Steins didn't give up on the play, gets the ball back, and Utah now with a chance to get the Blue Devil advantage back down to 5.
Steins couldn't shake free. He's got it here.
They say those hustle plays like don't show up on the stat sheet, but in fact it will. That'll be a cause turnover for Ryan Steins.
Yeah, exactly.
But that type of hustle, scrappy play, it's what you need.
Oh, Moyer's able to get by one, and then Jamison denies him. Jamison pounces on this one out of the cage, then lofts it ahead. So this freshman from Devon, Pennsylvania, highly coveted recruit, just continues to get better and better. Arguably the best rookie goalkeeper in America. That's now 7 saves for Jamison.
You look at the young goaltenders around the country. Jamison here at Duke. Then you've got, in the Big Ten, you've got Caleb Fyock, a.k.a. the Big Tasty, freshman for Ohio State. A redshirt freshman, Carden Stoller for Rutgers, was the Big Ten freshman of the year. So, you know, you look at other teams with Liam Entenmann and Matt Nunes for Notre Dame and Virginia, respectively. Hopkins, Chase, Erlin. Some older guys, and Lensgold, only a sophomore, but there Dyson Williams with the finish.
Oh, he's got a hat trick now, Dixie. Dyson Williams, one of the deadliest attackmen in America. He's got 3. Again, he is trying to chase down the program record holder, Justin Gutterding.
I like how Carson Moyer slinked his way through the Duke defense, but Jamison makes the save, keeps the game as a 6-goal advantage. And then what does Duke do? They go down the other end. Denenza draws 2. Dodge down the alley. Nice little back cut by Dyson Williams, 51 in white. And that is as automatic as it gets when it's in his stick.
Yeah, now 53 for Williams. So, Dixie, we've got the unique graduation, if you will, this year. He's one of a surplus of seniors and 5th-year seniors that are going to be playing their last game here at Duke. You know, commencement tomorrow. There's about 24 players that are playing their last game here. A commencement speaker tomorrow for the Duke University commencement ceremony. Jerry Seinfeld. Jackie Childs was unavailable, so Jerry stepped in.
He's looking into the O'Henry fortune.
Yeah, that's right. That one's wide of the cage from Andriella.
I haven't watched the new Unfrosted on Netflix. You said you took a stab at it?
So I saw the trailer. Trailer looks great. I'm with you, partner. I got to get on it myself.
Highly recommend the Tom Brady roast on Netflix. That was that was epic.
Yeah, if there was maybe for the Duke seniors that are going to be participating in celebratory events this evening and into the morning, I'll just remind you, this is not the commencement to miss. Do not miss. Get up for that one, all right?
Jerry Seinfeld, 2 children graduating from Duke University.
That's right. So his daughter graduated last year. His son is going to graduate from Duke as well. That's the connection next year. So Jerry steps in this year to be the speaker. Just keep the streak of Seinfelds going. You know, on the stage there, commencement weekend, make it 3 years in a row.
But you mentioned, Kevin, the graduation of 20+ Duke Blue Devils. That's going to sweep Division I men's lacrosse.
Yep.
Because this is, quote unquote, the last year of the 5th year, the grad transfers, the COVID players. Now you do have a handful of Ivy League kids, and some have announced their commitments. Some to North Carolina. One's coming here to Duke. But this game's going to look, and these rosters are going to look drastically different next year.
Hey, how about the aggressive attack? Jordan Hyde that time trying to muscle by a couple of Blue Devils and dunk that one home. And Utah's got their first score after the break.
We saw Carson Moyer go to the cage a few minutes ago, and now you've got Jordan Hyde. The swim move at just below goal line extended. He's going to get below GLE, and then whoop, beats the 70 inches of titanium of Kenny Brower. And I like how he keeps his body between the defender and his stick. Protection, protection, survival, shot, goal. Don't go into goal mouth. Jordan Hyde with a terrific individual effort.
This is now a 3rd straight 40-goal season for the senior from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. This Utah program, very experienced, and a roster that's filled with so many veterans like Hyde. All-conference selection this year. And Utah in its 2nd appearance in this NCAA tournament. Last year was the first. Going to do everything it possibly can to try to start this comeback. Something that did not happen last year in their first-round loss to Notre Dame, the eventual national champs.
They're still within striking distance. It's 12-6. I know it sounds a little weird, but get a defensive stop here. You're competing at the face-off dot.
Wow, that time O'Neal.
He punished
Blasted off the post. Carpenter trying to gather it, lost it. So a little unsettled situation here. Utah trying to turn this into their own fortune. High, and he could not secure it. Was turning towards Jamison in the cage before he had that one in his cross. And back comes Duke.
A little risky, unforced there if you're Utah. And whatever you do, you graduate from Duke or anywhere else, don't grow up and be a goalpost. Punished that post. I think I can still see the post actually crying and rubbing its, rubbing like you're rubbing its arm.
We're going Caddyshack version. You know, I always wanted to be a golf club. There's another score for Duke. 13-6. Aiden Denenza gets on the board here.
So Utah catches a break with the pipe shot from O'Neal, and then I just thought that the feed was ill-advised, a little careless, and this is what Duke will do to you. Nice look across from Pappendick, finds Denenza on the backside. I like how Duke is just keeping their feet moving. No one is being a spectator on offense today for the Blue Devils.
So it's a 20-goal season now for Denenza, the reliable senior captain. You know, he has provided a great veteran presence on this first midfield line that's featured a couple of young rookies all year in Sloat and Johnston. Duke has it again. Wilfer Soley, he's still got it. And now they can make the substitutions.
I mean, what did John Danowski say to us when we asked him what he thought of Utah? And he said, they terrified me with the way they play. And you can see why in a lot of aspects, how aggressive they are offensively. Defensively, they slide quite a bit. They get decent goaltending. They don't face off great, but that offense, and I think that they were a little hasty again on that last possession that they had, but Duke right now getting downhill on the Utes, and they need to stop desperately.
You know, and if I'm hearing you correctly, there is great skill that Andrew McMinn has recruited to Salt Lake. They call it Salt Lac City, by the way. I like that one. However, there is just a clear athleticism and physicality, kind of size disparity today that we have seen, you know, really factor into the way this one has played out thus far.
Well, that's the way, you know, the ACC, when you look at their national champions and national semifinals and their success, you know, really it's ACC, Big Ten are looked at as the two,
right,
you know, premier conferences, and the Ivies, the Patriot League. But you need the ASUN. You need conferences like this to expand and to grow. And Utah coming onto the scene, a Power 5 conference program, we need more of that in lacrosse. We need another Michigan to pop up. We need another Utah to pop up. God bless the smaller programs that are making a go of it, but to move the needle, I mean, can you imagine if another ACC school, a Clemson, they have a women's program. Louisville has a women's program. Virginia Tech women's. If they got men's programs, I tell you, the sky's the limit in terms of recruiting potential, competition evening, and other positives for the sport.
Hey, Hyde has another, and he's got it back to a 6-goal game again. So they continue to answer, even despite the gap here. Hyde now with 2 in the third quarter. But it's still a 6-goal lead for the Blue Devils with 6:31 to go. First round action in Durham.
The ability to control a rebound, so incredibly important for goalies, primarily because of that reason. You always have the vultures lurking for the trash. On this occasion, it's Jordan Hyde, redirects the rebound, and the Utes refuse to go away. Tremendous, and more to come tomorrow, but it's awesome. I mean, that piece gave me chills. I have 2 kids now playing college lacrosse, and at a young age they said, Dad, that's my goal, to play. I want to play men's Division I college lacrosse. And I don't know if they set the goal yet to be professional players, but to see the likes of Tom Schreiber and Blaze Reardon and Michael Sowers in their younger years with their sticks and with their uniforms and the pads that are 5 sizes too big for them, playing with their dads. Like, that's what it's all about. You know, the love of the game from an early age, and then making it to the sport's grandest, biggest, most talented stage.
Yep.
A special accomplishment.
Hey, having mom and dad to look up to as well.
That's true.
That's both of your past playing the game.
Everybody says my wife is the best athlete in the family, for sure.
Yes. First round action today of this NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championship. Virginia has moved on. Duke, the #2 overall seed, has kept the Utes comfortably arm's length away since about the midway mark of the first quarter, when they quickly built an 8-2 lead.
And this Utah bench, this Utah crowd, not going away. With that defensive stop, you just heard an explosion of emotion from the bench and from the Ute faithful that have come from all points of this great nation to be here in Koskinen. And now they win the substitution game and have numbers.
This is Freddie DiMarzo. As you've seen on many occasions, that run can come at any time, at any moment. Utah has been known to go on these runs. One of the highest scoring teams in the nation. They've averaged more than 18 goals a game in their 9-game win streak entering this tournament. However, today, their most difficult test. And again, they're trying to maybe string a couple together here with some stops. That one hits the side of the cage. And so Utah keeps it here. They'll have a fresh shot clock as well.
Well, they've had about, what, 5 or 6
I was just going to say, I think four at least.
You're better at math than I am, so let's call it 4. But Cody Hart, again, fearless, just taking that low angle and punishing the pipe. But also did well not to go into the crease. A lot of players will carry themselves, their momentum carries themselves into the crease. Sweet feet around the crease area not to go in.
Steins, he couldn't swing around Bard. Now they work it back to the top of the box. Less than 4 minutes to go in the quarter. Andriella couldn't get a clean shot off. Duke takes over, and they'll begin to clear. So let's take a quick moment to remind you, Week 7 UFL schedule. It rolls on tomorrow with a doubleheader over on ESPN. The Panthers and the DC Defenders at noon, followed by the Brahmas and the Roughnecks. That's tomorrow on ESPN. It starts at noon.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Utah. That shot from Steins hit off the leg of Jordan Hyde, and it changed the trajectory of the ball going out of bounds, and that allowed Duke to win the run out, and they pay off on the other end.
And Zawada was able to get topside there. And so Zawada, he's got a hat trick as well. And Duke doubling up Utah once again late in the third.
Zawada just gets a step, changes direction, changes hands. You know, the one thing you could say about this Utah defense is they've taken a few bad approaches. And that one is no exception, and Zawada takes full advantage, getting topside, getting to the cage, and putting it past Leskold. I mean, we got Michigan-Denver coming up next, and Zawada, the graduate transfer from Michigan. Of course, the Wolverines filling his role with Justin Tiernan out of Lehigh, led the NCAA in goals this year, but you know, you kind of think, like, what if Zawada was still in Michigan? You know, what would they look like? And if he wasn't here in Duke, who would be in his spot? But
that's right.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, right?
His last year, you mentioned it. I mean, these seniors that have taken advantage of that expanded eligibility. Zawada, a 5th year. So many old, experienced, deep teams. Duke right now with the comfortable advantage. They've got possession once again. Oh, Denenza got his hands free and he buries it. Just a crank, found some space. It's now an 8-goal advantage.
Utah defense looking a little tired now in the late stages of the third period. Denenza, 6'3", 220. Watch the wingspan, though, as he gets those hands free, his arms back. That is Condor wingspan. And there's nothing you could do about it if it's Leskold. That is just smoke coming at you, high to low. And 88 Denenza finds the back of the cage.
Senior from Long Island himself, one of the St. Anthony's guys, but one of many on this roster. Duke now, they've been nearly automatic. 18 out of 24. In terms of shots on goals, they've got another look here right in front. Williams, spin, bouncer, that's easy. They cash in again. It's 3 in a row for the Blue Devils. Their longest scoring run since the first quarter.
This is just fun to watch if you're a Duke fan. So pretty. Sharing the rock, the catch. And this is not an easy catch. This is the box lacrosse background of Dyson Williams. Catching it over his shoulder, the pirouette, whirling dervish. helpless goaltender if you're Les Gold, and the tidy, neat finish from number 51 in white. Duke now dominating in a blink of an eye, right? Went from a 5-goal, 6-goal game to now a 9-goal bulge.
Just graceful footwork there from Dyson Williams. Yeah, it's now a 3-goal scoring run. Hyde couldn't get a clean shot off. And so that's 3 goals in a minute for Duke. And again, we've seen the impact at the X today. Naso has returned with a vengeance, if you will. But Duke is in command now, as we are very close to starting this 4th quarter. Just a couple minutes to go here in the 3rd. But they have gone 16 out of 25 on face-offs today. Duke has. They've taken 25 shots. They've scored 16. I mean, that is an incredible shot percentage. And they have all year long been one of the best shooting teams in America. It's really been Duke and Notre Dame with the 2 best shot percentages in the nation all season.
Well, you know, a year ago, around this time, it was, okay, it's Duke, Notre Dame, Virginia, and everyone else. And Notre Dame couldn't beat Virginia. Virginia couldn't beat Duke. Duke can't beat Notre Dame, and how's that all going to shake out where Virginia falls to Notre Dame in the semis and Notre Dame wins their first national title? This year, I think Notre Dame is still in that upper elite, but I think the space between Duke and Virginia and the rest of the country has narrowed a little bit. But when you see Duke play like this, and the way they played in the ACC tournament last weekend against Syracuse, just reminds you of how talented this roster is, how experienced these players are, and how tough and out they are going to be here in the NCAA tournament.
You know, they have been a very close group all year with great continuity, great camaraderie. I mean, a lot of these names, if you watch their run last May, they sound familiar. Right. A lot of them have returned.
And that's what you've gotten with the COVID era, quote unquote, rosters, is just guys that have been around forever.
Right before the quarter break, there's a kick save. 2 seconds to go here. And Duke takes its largest lead of the afternoon to the 4th quarter. 16-7 advantage after they outscored Utah 5-2 in that period.
Utah made a run, got a couple of goals in the beginning of the 3rd stanza, but Duke had an answer at every turn.
And they do look maybe indestructible.
Well, the only team that beat them all year was Georgetown. And they are in the Irish bracket. The Hoyas will take on the Penn State Nittany Lions tomorrow. The Hoyas won the Big East in dramatic fashion. Both their semifinal game and their championship game against Providence and Villanova, respectively, went to overtime. Looking forward to seeing Graham Bundy Jr., All-American midfielder, terrific player. Dylan Hess is a great short stick D midi for the Hoyas, matching up on a Penn State team that was dominant in the semifinals, the Big Ten tournament, beating Maryland 19-9, and that's gigantic. It's only the 2nd win all time against Maryland in that program's history. And then they just ran into the Michigan buzzsaw, but TJ Malone, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, Jack Frassion between the pipes, tremendous goalie. That's going to be a fun one in DC.
Utah, the ASUN champs, had it close a couple of times. They scored twice early in this game, led 2-1. However, fell behind 8-2 early in that 2nd quarter. Cut it back to a 4-point game on a couple of occasions, but Duke was just too physical in that 3rd quarter. And after the save, the Blue Devils are coming the other way. You know, it's interesting, Dixie, we just saw both sides of the bracket. By the way, we're going to go just from site to site. We, 10-hour lacrosse showcase today and tomorrow is this first round. Yeah,
can't beat it.
You know, is there a dark horse really anywhere in this bracket that you like, maybe to reach championship weekend?
I don't think you can count out Penn State. When you think about what happened to them last year, they lose in the Big Ten semifinal to Michigan. They had a tough first-round opponent in Princeton, beat them at home. Then they beat a really tough Army team. And let's face it, a horrendous call in overtime. And the reason why we have instant replay in 2024 is what did them in against Duke in the national semifinals. So that's a team that could potentially be a dark horse if you're looking for one.
Well, and they would have to go through Notre Dame if those two teams advanced
and
to the
that
quarterfinals.
is, I mean, you know, but hey,
Slack 11, holds, 30 seconds.
Notre Dame is in and of itself, but you asked me for a dark horse, right? That's what a dark horse is. Guy that goes out and takes care of business when you don't expect them to, right?
Well, here's the penalty a moment ago.
Yeah, it's a hold in any little bit of a sleeper headlock.
Yeah.
But I mean, that Notre Dame team taking on Albany, and I know it's completely different cast of characters, but what about throughout the history of that series? You know, who could forget the overtime quarterfinal classic on Long Island? The Thompson brothers on one side. You had Matt Cavanaugh scoring the overtime game winner at Hofstra all those years ago. And this year, Albany led by Jake Pacino, PLL draft pick. And their theme, Alive by Pearl Jam. That is their theme.
That's right.
You've got the coaches singing it, the players singing it, the parents singing it, people getting down.
O'Neal misfires. All right, how many times have you seen Pearl Jam live?
Once.
Sounds okay.
Once. Saw them at the Baltimore Arena, now CFG Bank Arena, and they're coming back. They have a new album and a new tour this summer. So if you're a Pearl Jam, are you a Pearl Jam fan?
You know, not the biggest Pearl Jam fan, but I love, you know, teams embodying, you know, a certain song,
Yeah.
like Creed is back, by the way. We saw what the Rangers did with.
Oh, please. I can see you being a Creed guy.
Well, there were a couple of hits there. They all sounded the same, though.
I thought as long as you're not invoking like the Backstreet Boys.
No. No, I don't think so.
But no, I mean,
so you saw coming back the other way.
Scott Marr is one of the most genuine, carefree coaches in the country. And for any coach to like embody that kind of vibe, it's him. So it's so fitting for the Great Danes that they took on that theme prior to the America East tournament. Were able to win that thing. It was tough. You know, Vermont, the championship game, gave them all they could handle, but now they're back. And that's going to be, that'll be an interesting game tomorrow in South Bend.
Marr, he spoke a lot about how this feels like there's some parallels to 10 years ago when they started that run of 6 straight tournament appearances. He had the Thompsons. He's had a star this year, like you mentioned already, in Pacino. Largely young team. And maybe Albany is going to start another dynasty-type run. We'll see. But first, they got to get through Notre Dame today. Tomorrow, rather, in their first-round battle. There's a rip, but it's right at Jamison. And so he makes the save here. Duke on the move.
I mean, Notre Dame's a team, obviously, playing at such an elite level. And who would have thought that you're talking about a Notre Dame team where you're, you know, Eric Dobson, who was unbelievable in their run to the title last year, many consider him not even to be their best midfielder in 2024, and they're just an absolute juggernaut under offensive coordinator Chris Wojcik. He's doing a magnificent job. What, an extra man offense, about a 76% success rate? That's unheard of.
And a similarly complete team, it feels, is the squad that we're watching today. That is Duke. If they play consistent lacrosse, oh, great find. Zawada with the fadeaway, if you will, backpedaling away from the cage. And Josh Zawada has another score for Duke. It's now his 4th of the day. He and Dyson Williams each have 4.
Dodge down the alley. Pappendick with his second helper. He's got good vision, number 8 in white. another player that got some opportunity in that regular season loss. The last regular season game to Carolina, came on and made some plays, and you make the most with your opportunities, and Pappendick does just that and finds Zawada, who finds the back of the cage. And this is the time of the game, 10 minutes left. Does Duke start running some fresh guys in, knowing that you've probably stamped your ticket to Hempstead, Long Island next weekend to take on the winner of Maryland or Princeton?
And it would have to be a 10-goal comeback in less than 10 minutes for Utah to prevent that. But Dixie, so Zawada with the latest goal, he's got 7 points though, 3 assists as well for Zawada.
He did a little bit of everything at Michigan. He's been more of a scorer here in Durham, but he's got the ability to play that ex-quarterback role on the attack side. He just brings a lot of skills in his toolbox to, Brennan O'Neill and Dyson Williams. I think with Duke, Kevin, it's consistency. You start asking the question, what Duke team is going to show up? And I know that might be a little bit of a stretch, but when you have losses like they had 10-4 to Syracuse earlier in the season, a 3-goal loss to North Carolina where they were down by 9 in that contest. Those are the questions that people start to ask about your identity and which team is going to show up.
Well, today they certainly have built, of course, a large lead. Jamison has made 10 saves on the other side of the field. McAdory tried to bounce that one, knocked away.
And you can see O'Neal still busting a gut to the sideline to win possession. McAdory dodging hard to the cage there, trying to put together a full 60 minutes of lacrosse.
A rip, that one was blocked down in front. It was Ben Johnston who slammed on the brakes there, had his defender flying. Utah back the other way. What else has impressed you about Duke's offensive performance today?
Moving their feet, sharing the ball, not being spectators. Oftentimes, this is a group that sometimes will sit and watch 34 go to work. And it's also a group that, gets accused of, if 34 is not on his game, who else can step up and make plays? And I think we saw Brennan O'Neill early impact the game, influence the game, and then we've seen his teammates pick up the slack over the later stages of this to really form a cohesive attack unit. But I think if you're Duke, you've got to find someone other than McAdory, number 2, that can create offense and can get the thing started. I think you're going to have to find someone who can win a matchup, have good shake, and get a defense moving. And the defense that I have in mind is Notre Dame.
Right. The team that they faced in the championship a year ago, they fell behind early, tied it up at one point in the second half, but ultimately lost to the Irish 13-9 last year. A title a long time in the making for Notre Dame. But this has been a very impressive, just business-like performance today if you're Duke. In front, Williams. That one's knocked away by Lenskold.
Nice save. Good reflexes. And I'm impressed with this Utah team. I'm impressed with their spirit, with their athleticism. I mean, they've just come in here to the number 2 seed and, a focused and determined number 2 seed. But this Utah program is only going to continue to attract good recruits, beautiful campus, beautiful area, and a coaching staff that's committed to winning. And let's get back to the conversation around schools like Utah, schools like Michigan, picking up programs.
That was a big strike, by the way, Max Sloat. And so Duke extends its lead to 18-7. 5:54 to go. More on that when we come back. But how about the latest strike from Max Sloat, the redshirt freshman from San Mateo, California?
Sloat's been running first midfield most of the season, but he has been asked to take on more of a role on the second line, and he's making it happen. Steps into an open area, nice high-to-low shot. Duke cruising. Incredible. And the fact that when Inside Lacrosse did a mid-season All-American team and he was second team, you're like, oh boy, that's, you know.
May light a fire.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that it has or hasn't, but his play, he reminds me of Larry Quinn. Tall, rangy, efficient in his movements. Quinn was a 84-85 champion at Hopkins, just, you know, a two-time first-team All-American, two-time national champion. Entenmann reminds me of Quinn, and if I'm handing out the Tewaaraton, with all due respect to those three incredible offensive players, the lasting and indelible image is Joe Sider with the Sider bomb, a high-to-high rip on the orange. That is going to be a fast-paced game. You've got Billy Dwan, who I think has emerged as one of the best defenders in the country. Will Mark is an outstanding goaltender for Syracuse. And then Towson, Mikey Wiseauer, is a player, the best player that no one's heard of in 2024, midfielder for the Tigers.
New goalie for Utah. Connor Hollison, the junior from Maryland. He's between the pipes. Oh, behind the back attempt that time, stopped by Jamison. Jamison's been terrific today. That's another save. He's got double-digit saves for the 12th time this season. So this Utah team, they took that 2-1 lead, and then Duke went on a 7-1 run. They've never looked back since. A couple of times Utah was able to scrunch it back to a 4-goal game. Look, these are the two-time defending ASUN champs. They ran through the conference once again. They have earned their right, of course, to play in this tournament for a second straight year. It would not surprise me if we just see the profile of this Utah program continue to rise. Andrew McMinn in his third year. He's talked glowingly just about the support, the interest, the program continuing to grow, and being at, like you said, a power conference is only going to help this program. It's just 6 years old, continue to rise.
Big time. And you think about Utah athletics, you know, a lot of people that know think about Rick Majerus and his basketball teams, Keith Van Horn making runs to the Final Four.
Oh, how about that behind the back sting from Dyson Williams? A little flair here in the fourth quarter. That's 19 goals now for Duke. It's too short of their season high.
Williams makes it look so easy. Get the ball behind, and again is Papendick. I've been impressed with Papendick's vision here today. Third assist, and this, you really can't teach it. You can practice it till it becomes instinct. Catch and the BTB. An exclamation point for the Duke Blue Devils here in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, this is a statement a little bit different than a year ago when a very good Delaware team came in here and nearly pulled off the upset. Duke was able to get away that day, won 12-11, and they have nearly put up 20 here today against this Utah team as it's trying to march on to the quarterfinals where it would face Maryland or Princeton.
Yeah, Duke with some fresh faces into the game. Will Helm between the pipes. Picking up GB, gets a stat. Name in the paper, date for the prom. But it would be great to see schools, you know, we talked about some of those ACC schools. How about NC State? They used to have a program. Stan Cockerton, a legend in the game. You look at the Big Ten, Northwestern has a women's program. Let's add a men's if we can. Michigan State used to be a program, Division I level. Used to play in NCAA tournaments with that automatic bid that used to go to the Midwest. And what? USC and UCLA now joining the Big Ten. USC has a women's team. It would be fantastic to see the growth of the game at these power conferences adding that men's sport. Right now, there's only 73 Division I men's lacrosse teams, and there's tens of thousands of young men playing the game. It's a bottleneck at the top.
Well, and the support would be there for the large brands like we're discussing. I mean, shoot, it's a long trip for the Utes, and we've seen a whole lot of red in the stands today, as to be expected. But meanwhile, Duke now 220 away from advancing to the quarterfinals next weekend. Shot clock expires, and so Utah takes over.
A lot to be proud of if you're Utah. Terrific season. Played an ambitious out-of-conference schedule. Found out what they were made of, and then they were able to run the Atlantic Sun. I mean, this is a Utah team that hasn't lost since March 20th. Their first conference game was Air Force, and they lose 12-11 to the Falcons, and they didn't look back since. I mean, we're talking an Atlantic Sun tournament where they dominated Cleveland State 21-5 and then topped Jacksonville 16-13. But the season will end here today in Durham with a lot of positives, though, for Andrew McMinn and his ball club.
Yep. A lot of seniors who will be moving on. Tyler Bradbury scored a goal earlier today. MJ McMahon, Carson Moyer, Hyde, Andriella, some others, but Steins, he's going to be the player of the future for this program. Just a redshirt sophomore, the ASUN player of the year. Scored a goal earlier today. He's going to wind up with nearly a 50-goal season. But Duke, on the other hand, just too much offense, too much physicality. They made the march to the championship game a year ago, and it feels like they're certainly built to do the same this year.
They're talented, and they've got the reigning Tewaaraton winner, who's Exhibit A, but I think what we saw today and what we saw in the ACC tournament when they beat Syracuse, when he has help, they are that much more dangerous. McAdory's critical, but that midfield, you know, in the midfield, McAdory, other than him, who can create offense, but today, it belongs to Duke.
The Blue Devils advance to the quarterfinals. They trample Utah 19-7, fell behind 2-1, and then went on a huge run to take the lead for good.